It's an update on a. I was muted again, dude. I did it again. I did it again.
You
I
push
did it
the
again.
button, man.
I
Gotta
did.
push the
Well, the thing is,
button.
I've got my mic boom here. I've got my mic boom here, and my mute buttons are like right in the way. So it's not like it's in my line of sight. It is in the line of sight,
I
but
got
the
it.
yeah, I know. I'm gonna be in
my
gonna be in the market for another microphone here that doesn't go on a boom. Something that sits right in front of me. Anyway, we're back. We had Gremlins. We don't have Gremlins anymore. We're blaming the sports bar. And speaking of the sports bar, you can catch them on Sunday evenings at 2000. Yeah, we
Eastern.
Eastern, 2000 Eastern. But I did want to get to this story because it's an update of a previous story that we did share. So remember Sam Brinton? Does that name mean anything to you?
I don't remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So,
let me post a picture of him. Sam used to be a part of the Department of Energy, but he got fired because he got busted stealing people's luggage at the airport.
Yes, now I remember.
Once he got busted in Vegas, and another time he got busted in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Since then, he's gotten fired. And since he's been fired, I haven't heard anything from him until Wednesday. It's not like he did it again. It's just a female Tanzanian fashion designer based in Houston alleged on Wednesday that the clothing, I don't know which particular piece of clothing it was, but she said that he was in one of his photo ops or one of his speeches that he was giving, he was wearing some of her clothes. But Her clothes had been stolen from an airport from Washington, D.C. in 2018.
2018, yeah.
Asia Kamson, forgive me, Asia, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. She's designed and handmade her own clothing line for years. She said she recently saw a report that Brinton had been charged with stealing multiple pieces of luggage across the country and noticed that the former official appeared to be wearing her clothes in several photos. Asia said that she had packed the same clothes in a bag that vanished on March 9th, 2018 at Ronald Reagan, Washington National Airport. She says, I saw the images. Those are my designs. I lost that bag in 2018. She goes, he was wearing my clothes. These clothes are stolen. Kamson added that she had flown to Washington, D.C. to attend an event where she was invited to put her clothing on display. However, the disappearance of her bag prevented her from participating. She had been in touch with the airlines and the local police, and the police said that hers and other cases are now being handled by the FBI. And that kind of floored me. This must be an incredibly big deal when the theft of several pieces of luggage gets the attention of the FBI. Maybe because airport property is federal property, or because the accused person involved is a federal employee. I don't know. Or maybe the amount that was stolen, kind of, this is pathological. This isn't like an accident. I grabbed the wrong bag. So yeah, dude's in some deep doo-doo.
Walking around, looking at women, be like, oh, I like what she's wearing. I bet she has some good clothes in her, that's stealing her. I don't know how you'd pull that off, but there's got to be some sort of method to the madness. But I know I don't even know how to properly address that. I just say he.
Well, he's gender fluid. He's like a trans activist, and that's fine. But he said he's gender fluid, and he goes by his pronouns are they. But I can't talk like that, so I'm just going to call him he.
Well, I mean, he been apparently went to his first case, I guess, hearing or whatever it is, and showed up in a suit and tie. So
was that like an arraignment or something?
I don't know. I think it was like one of those first cases over the stolen luggage or whatever it is, like an arraignment. Or I saw it on the Twitter box. Everyone was making fun of it, the fact that he showed up in a suit and tie, and everyone was like, well, he couldn't show up in his dresses because that would be self-incriminating, wearing stolen goods. But, the fucking insanity behind this is what nuclear waste management is what this individual was.
That's what he did. Yeah. I mean, he's probably a smart dude. He's just got this problem.
Kleptomania?
Yeah. Some people have that. I mean, they can't help themselves. And I get it, but damn, dude.
Kleptomania is probably not a good thing to have when you're dealing with nuclear.
That's not something that you put on your resume, though. Hi, I'm really highly educated and pretty smart, and I'm really, really good at math, but I also like to steal shit.
I like to steal women's clothes and wear them.
Please give me a security clearance. Or I guess when you're a part of the of an administration or whatever, it's not like you have a security clearance. It's just like you have I forget what they call that. I had to get one for Customs and Border Protection. It's not, you don't have a secret security clearance. You just have a
like a handler's.
It's like a trust, public trust. It's a public trust clearance. That's probably...
Bro, every time I see a picture of him wearing that red dress with the lipstick, I only see Matt Damon with the shaved head wearing lipstick.
Matt Damon. So we got 2 minutes, dude. I got time for one more.
What is it?
Check your privilege. Check your privilege as a white man. This is a weird one because this is a TikTok story. That I don't do TikTok. I was like reading all of the articles on this little, check your privilege thing. So I thought it was fake, but I looked into it more and it's true. All of the videos involved are from TikTok, so I haven't seen them, but I've read the news stories about them. So basically, I've read the book. I haven't seen the movie. So check this out. There's this homeless dude that lives in his car and does TikTok videos. He was shooting a video answering questions from one of his followers on where to park at night if you're sleeping in your car. If you don't have an apartment, you're sleeping in your car, where's a good place to park your car to be safe? And the TikTok creator, his account is called Britain Slander account. So you can look up Britain Slander account. He said that if you're living in your car and you need a free, safe place to park, you might try a hospital parking lot. It's free and it's relatively secure. It's pretty genius if you ask me. But there was this person, this female, who responded to his video with another video, and there's words for these on TikTok, and I don't get it, but she said, you actually did pay. You paid for the car, you paid for the gas, you paid for insurance. All of those things are very expensive, and a lot of people can't afford them. You better check your privilege. The dude's living out of his car, and she's check your I mean, because he's a I don't even know if he was a white dude. He kind of looked. I saw the picture of him. He kind of looks. He has a Middle Eastern look to him, but he's just a dude, oval face. He's got a beard, but he lives out of his car. I mean, a lot of folks do that, and just because you're living out of, if you're living, I mean. You're living out of your car, but I mean, he probably has a job. He might have a job. I assume he has a job. He looked clean. His spread in his car was kind of sweet. It was cozy. But she was like, "Oh yeah, but you've got a car. Check your privilege." I don't know, man. There's so many things that are important that are worth being concerned about.
Just wonder if this lady saying check your privilege has a $400,000 freaking underwater basket weaving degree in some big college out of one of these big cities.
Yeah.
Oh, check your privilege. No, I got $400,000 of debt I didn't need to take on, but I'm still suffering with that. And check your privilege.
I'm looking at her and just judging by her appearance. I mean, her jacket probably at least $150. That's one of them cool little puffy jackets.
You know what real privilege is? Is being able to tell people to check their privilege. So check your privilege.
Yeah. So check out his video. And I guess I'm talking to Pooky. I don't do TikTok. I don't watch TikTok. I don't have it.
If I'd have seen this, I'd have been all over it. And I have not seen this on TikTok.
I think he, according to one of the stories, they shut off commenting, he shut off commenting on his video.
He did.
He shut
because
it off.
he was sleeping in a car and asked for advice, and now he shut his comments off because
he didn't know he didn't. He was giving advice. He was like the guy that had figured it out. So he was giving advice to someone who had sent him a message asking where is a safe place to park if I'm sleeping in my car, and he said try a hospital, which is genius. It is absolutely genius. So hey, let's gonna wait for Ryan to chime in. Hopefully he's got the deets to get into the into our little family here, and we're gonna take a short break, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes, and hopefully Ryan will be with us. That'd be awesome. All right, hang out. We'll be back in just a few shots.
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
but they couldn't pray when it was more common to see a rifle than a Bible. We used to cover our hearts with our hands. We pledged allegiance when the day began, and in God we trust and follow the law of the land. But Grandpa said it's not okay with me. This isn't how things were supposed to be. They say you can't pray in school, but you can pray with me. And people go hungry within our lines. On almost every corner, a vet needs a dime. And Grandpa says it's a never-ending war. This ain't the country that my family fought and died for. But Grandpa died before I was born. He took his own life right after the war. But he still walks with me, and forever he'll stay. If I wanna talk to him, I just pray. If I wanna talk to him, I just pray. If I wanna talk to him, I just pray. And Grandpa said it's not okay with me. This isn't how things were supposed to be. They say you can't pray in school, but you can pray with me. You can pray with me. I never thought that I'd see the day when kids sat in school, but they couldn't pray.
WTF Nation Radio.
I never thought that I'd see the day when kids sat in school, but they couldn't pray. When it was more common to see a rifle than a Bible. We used to cover our hearts with our hands. We pledged allegiance when the day began, and in God we trust and follow the law of the land. But Grandpa said it's not okay with me. This isn't how things were supposed to be.
from 2001 to my retirement.
And then you went to Rucker to teach after some incidents, and we're going to get to that.
Yeah, I was a TAC officer at Warrant Officer Candidate School for a little bit, and then became an academic instructor, finished out as a leadership development instructor for the Warrant Officer Career College. So
before we get into your story, tell me about growing up as a kid in the Weaver household.
We had a bunch of, my dad moved us all over the state of Florida for jobs and employment, whatnot, as I was growing up as a kid. And, we had a mix of steps, halves, and full-blood siblings, but a cornucopia of kids. We had 11 people living in the house at one time. By the time I graduated, I think it was high school or getting into high school, somewhere between middle school or elementary school and high school, we had 11 people living in the house. But then Steve went back in the military, and then of course Aaron went in the military prior to me as well. And then I went in after that. So yeah, it was.
Did you know you were going to be in the military? You're just waiting for your time, or?
Well, I mean, I had a cross-country scholarship offered to me, but some circumstances led to me not doing that, and I followed in Aaron and Steve's footsteps. Steve was a Ranger in the Ranger Regiment, got out, went at 2 years of college, and then went back in as a warrant officer. I became a OH-58 pilot, then transitioned to Cobras, then transitioned to Kiowa Warriors. Then Aaron was also in the Ranger Regiment, 3rd 75th Bravo Company for ambush in Mogadishu, but he went in the Ranger Regiment, got out, went to 2 years of school, then went back in and did the warrant officer thing as well, and became a Kiowa guy. And then I followed in their footsteps as a military intelligence guy. But Aaron called me at my recruiting station when I was a recruiter, which sucked.
But you weren't a fan of being a recruiter, huh?
Heck no, it was, I was on a Sunday night after I'd already worked 6 days. It was my 7th day, and Aaron called me from flight school and said they had changed the vision standards for flight school, and I had to think about putting my packet in because I didn't think I had 20/20 at the time. So ended up submitting my packet, and I had 20/20 vision when I did the flight physical anyway. So
was this allegedly 20/20 or?
No, I mean, I read the 20/20 line, so it counted. I don't.
That's fine.
It may have been like this, but it was. They said the vision standards were 20/50 correctable to 20/20 prior or at that time. So if I did not have 20/20 vision, I could have gotten glasses and fixed it, but it worked out on its own.
So how was post flight school? I mean, how did the Army treat you? Was it okay?
It was a great transition. I mean, being a military intelligence guy where I was stationed at Fort Leavenworth was not bad. It was a great duty station at the World-Class Op 4 National Training Center or National Simulation Center. Pretty much the hidden jewel of the Army. But recruiting duty, like I said, was no fun whatsoever, and it seemed like I was going to get stuck in that pathway. But I decided to go the flight school route instead. But being a warrant officer is great. I mean, it was a learning experience to go from being a hard charging, standing parade rest, yes sir, no sir, non-commissioned officer into being a warrant officer where that kind of stuff really was not part of the culture. And, relearning my leadership style, if I even needed to have leadership at all as a W-1, because you're pretty much a nobody in the aviation community, but loved it. I mean, aviation was a passion for both my brothers. It's still a passion for Steve. He's a civilian, works for a civilian company out of St. Augustine. But for me, it was cool. It was cool to say that I was a Black Hawk guy and followed in my brother's footsteps. But they loved flying a lot more than I did. Let's just say that.
How did so when you're going through flight school, do you get to choose your airframe, or is it chosen for you?
Well, we had 22 people in my graduating class for flight school. At the end, it took a year and 8 months to get through, so you don't end up finishing with the same people that you started with. Some of them, yes, but it depends on where you graduate in your class or where you are when they do aircraft selection. So we had 10 Blackhawks, 10 Chinooks, 10 Blackhawks, 10 Apaches, 1 Chinook, and 1 Kiowa. And I had spoken with my brother Steve about which airframe was going to provide me the most opportunities and most duty stations, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I chose Blackhawks. I was actually 4th in aircraft selection by the time we got done with flight school. I ended up graduating top of my class. But you also, once you go to select your aircraft, depending on where you are in that selection process, you also get to pick your duty station. So I ended up going to Germany. The only other duty station that I wanted really was Hawaii, and the guy that was just ahead of me picked that one. So
what's he doing now?
I have no idea. I gotta be honest, that was a long time ago. But to think about it, I mean, 20 years ago. I can say that the one guy that picked the Chinook, which wasn't one of my choices, actually in a crash in Afghanistan, and I did not make it back. So one of our classmates, Prather.
That tragedy is all too common.
Oh yeah, it is.
So would you like to get into your story, your Ryan Weaver story? I mean, you've been through so much, which, because you went through so much, I think that had something to do with you launching your country career, which is outstanding, and your songwriting is phenomenal, and it really gets to your heart. If you guys heard that song, Let's Talk About Heroes, man, that just gives me goosebumps all over the place, man.
There's so much to that song and how it ended up coming into play. Obviously, we wrote that a couple of years ago. It came out last year. The music video came out last year. But yeah, I mean, I was deployed to Iraq. My brother Aaron was deployed with the 82nd. He was with their CAV unit, Flying Kiowas over there. But he was a cancer survivor, was non-deployable, and had to get a waiver to be deployed from the division commander. And the waiver said that he had to get bi-monthly blood screenings for his cancer. The kind of cancer that he had was a rare form of cancer. It was extremely dangerous if it got past. It was a testicular cancer, but if it got past that, it would spread throughout his body and wouldn't be able to be stopped. So essentially, once they found out that he had this cancer, he had a choice to get either an exploratory surgery done or do chemo, the harshest form of chemo, and that would have taken him out of flying for quite some time. If he did the exploratory surgery, he would just have to recover from the wounds and get back into flying again, get an upslip. So he did, and he recovered quickly. But he had to get bi-monthly blood screenings, and that was part of the waiver to make sure the cancer didn't come back. And he was a passenger in a medevac helicopter going to Baghdad Hospital when it was shot down, and he was killed in action as a passenger. Everybody on board actually died that day. So I ended up coming home to his funeral from Iraq, and
that hit you hard. That hit you like a ton of bricks.
I wasn't the same for quite some time. I mean, Aaron was my only full-blood sibling. Steve is my half-brother by adoption, but I don't look at him any differently than my full-blood sibling. But Aaron was my only full-blood sibling as my brother. And I followed in his footsteps, with exception of going to Ranger Regiment, but I followed in his footsteps and the things that he did. He was my standard of success. He was my, he was the path that I followed behind. And when he died, obviously there wasn't a path to follow behind anymore. It was time for me to make my own in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the candidates, I have several candidates that I still keep in touch with I was a TAC officer for. And if you can imagine Louis Gossett Jr. on steroids, they called me the Tasmanian devil. But there was a lot of passion and hurt that went into training candidates when I first got back, because the way that I looked at it, every single person that was trying to go through candidate school was going to be sitting in the seat that he sat in, or filling the boots that he filled. And I personally and professionally don't think that's would have ever been possible, but I was going to do the best that I could to make sure that they had the right mentality going into it. And yeah, it sucked. It was horrible. It was horrible for my family. It was horrible to know that I was never going to see him again. And I had to go through a pretty dark place, and music is what took me out of it. And music is what helped me.
Have you always been musical?
When I was in flight school, I started singing karaoke and singing competitions because I was going through a divorce and broke off my ass, and I was winning. And it was something I didn't. It was late. I was later in my 20s before I realized. I mean, I had done musical plays and stuff like that in high school and or elementary school and high school, but I played the violin in high school, but I never sang. I did, but I didn't realize it was something that I was decent at least decent enough to win these competitions and whatnot. And then I fell in love with it. I mean, it didn't take me long. I realized it was like, wow, this is really cool. And it was also something of my own. Aaron had never done something like that. So it was really a path that I was forging on my own in that regard. And then when Aaron died, I started writing in Iraq before he died. And I realized that I loved to write as well. I wasn't great at it, or I didn't even know what the hell I was doing, quite honestly. I was just kind of writing. And when Aaron died, I decided to chase this dream in his honor and do something that I was extremely passionate about and loved doing. And people thought that I was pretty good at it. So I figured everything else that I had done in my life, in one way or another, whether it was not exactly the same, but it was similar, I had always fought, like I said, I'd always follow in his footsteps, and it was time for me to make my own path. And that's really how it all got started.
So when you got out, did you find it hard to find gigs or find jobs or find some employment as far as being in the music business?
So first, let me ask you a question. Am I allowed to cuss on this?
Absolutely.
I'll say whatever you want.
Okay, I'm just checking. I want to make sure that before I do it. Man, it was a fucking beast. Getting out of the military for me was not really a super hard transition going into the civilian side of things, because quite honestly, I was road for the last year I was in, pretty much, which everybody out there may know what road is, retired on active duty. Essentially I was really focused on the music side of things, because the job that I had as an instructor was pretty much on autopilot at that point. I knew all my classes, I knew all the material, I knew what to teach. And when we changed the curriculum, it was easy to do that. But for me, when I got out of the military, I went from being a W-3, on active duty, making decent money, and I jumped in. The only safety net I had was my TRICARE Prime and my retirement check. I still had children, which I don't talk too much about my kids because I've kept them completely out of the limelight. I don't want them involved in any of this. And as a matter of fact,
good call.
I rarely ever say anything about my kids in a public forum, because I just didn't. I've tried to keep them away from. First off, my political side would have made it even worse for them, my political stance on things. But the music business can be a brutal business when it comes to family members and whatnot. So I've kept them away from that. But I don't even know where the hell I was going. Oh, yeah. So they were still in school. They're still doing all their things and all their activities. And I went to my retirement check, which it was less than a third of what I was making on active duty, and still paying the same amount of child support. I had 2 roommates. I was a barback, part-time barback, part-time personal trainer, and going to college full-time to get my degree at 39 years old. So I was doing all of that when I moved to Nashville to pay my bills, and thank God for that post 9/11 Montgomery GI Bill BAH. Tell you what, that BAH was a lifesaver. But I learned, it was almost like I went back to being a private again, as far as the way that I had to learn to live, eating cowboy quiche and ramen and Cheerios and all the fun stuff that you get to eat. And then I met my wife. I was in Nashville for, I don't know how many months I was in Nashville. I think it was. So I moved to Nashville in March 2012, met my wife later on that year, September, October, November, anyway. And quite honestly, a lot of folks don't know this story, don't know this about me, but when I do my motivational speaking, I speak very specifically about how much her family and how much she did and her dad did really to save my music career. I was working so much and so involved in finishing my degree that I really didn't have any time for music when I first moved in. So you're looking at probably a year and a half in Nashville, just trying to get my feet on the ground, trying to figure out how I was going to, because I moved to Nashville specifically for music,
That's that is the town where dreams go to die. Everyone's saying, like, Vegas is this and Hollywood is this, but Nashville is the same way.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's pretty much as you say, those cities that are the states and the towns that you were just talking about own Nashville just the same. I mean, music business is not run by necessarily the folks in Nashville. All the record labels are owned by record labels and companies in New York and Los Angeles, and so a lot of folks don't realize that. But all that aside, her dad gave me a job, helped me pay my, that got me to pay my bills. And he wanted me to get back to focusing on music, and he specifically did that for me. And he said that when he asked me how much I needed a month to pay my bills, and he said, "I want you to get back into music. That's what you came here for. It's what you love, and we want to be part of that." So, they brought me in like I was a family member and helped me out and supported me. And I still get to work with my wife, not as much as I did, but it was a lifesaver, and it was a career saver in that same regard. So love can really do some amazing things for you if you're willing to accept it. That's for sure.
Yeah, we've had Derek Jones. You're in Nashville. He's in Nashville as well. He's a Navy veteran, and he told almost verbatim the exact same story. Just kind of just went to Nashville to make it work, and just realized that, oh my gosh, this is going to take a little bit more work. And he put in the work, and he's doing great too. Maybe you can hook up together and do something. I mean, there's a lot of veteran musicians that are out there trying to make it. And
I'm always down to collab with folks, especially the veteran side of things. It seems that we, just like every other thing, and I'm sure that you guys can agree with this, is like there's this. The best way to say it, there's this massive competition amongst veterans in the same industries, because we're all so driven to be successful, and you realize that you have to make it your own way. And of course, there's a lot of idiot veterans out there too. A lot of guys that use that veteran status that are jackwagons that really are hard to deal with and hard to work with. And the competition factor is so high that collabing and working with other veterans in some regards is extremely difficult. I'm always open to work with veterans until somebody turns into a dick, then I'm fine with burning that bridge just the same. But yeah, right. I'd love to be able to work with them. I mean, there are great guys out there doing great things. Scooter Brown, one of the great. I love Scooter Brown. He's great. Scott's a great guy. He's nice to everybody, and there. I mean, several other artists out there that I've reached out to work with in the business.
And it's not necessarily country. You know what I would like? I guess one of my dreams, I don't want to say dreams, but like to see maybe not an entire album, but like an EP of just like, here's some patriotic, 5 or 6 songs, either sung by a vet, produced by a vet, one of the musicians was a veteran, or whatever. Just have an entire, something with nothing but veterans.
I'm trying. The Valkyrie Initiative actually did have that. So if you guys want to check out that album, The Valkyrie, I have a song on that album. I think they put "Burn" on that album.
Burn's a good
the Valkyrie
one.
Initiative did it, and also the Benny Havens band from West Point. I was on the cover. My name is on the cover with Charlie Daniels. It says featuring Charlie Daniels and Ryan Weaver on the West Point Benny Havens band album. I have a song on that one as well. So if you want a couple of great patriotic albums that are out there that are collaborations between veterans, those are 2 pretty good ones.
I'm going to write that down. The Valkyrie Project. I think I might have heard of that.
Valkyrie Initiative, something like that. But they had an album that's it's actually Burn is one on that album gets spun just as much as off of my own Spotify.
So you mentioned your political ideology. Do you think that holds you back at all, or you're just doing what you do, and it's like to hell with everyone else?
Well, the thing is I think that a lot of folks, first and foremost, they are the folks that know me on social media. They see country music artist, motivational speaker, that kind of thing, and the music business has always, since I've come into town, looked at me as a military guy before they've looked at me as an artist.
Okay.
So because of my military background and my story, I was immediately pigeonholed into that realm. I was going to be the Lee, in the Lee Greenwood sphere of music, kind of thing. And I shied away from that for as long as I possibly could. I mean, up until 2016, when we started working on Burn, I sat down with David Corlew. I think it was 2014, actually. David Corlew, Charlie Daniels' manager, sat down with him, and he said, he's like, Ryan, I've looked at your stuff and I noticed that you don't, like, you're shying away from who you are as a military guy. And I said, well, David, you know, I've been trying to go mainstream, been trying to do like the Craig Morgans of the world, the Darryl Worleys of the world, been trying to go mainstream. And it's really difficult in this town because nobody takes military artists seriously. For whatever reason, they look at you as a military guy before they look at you as a country music artist. And I've shied away from telling my story because I didn't want to get pigeonholed into that. Crank It came out first. My song Crank It came out with a fun video, all my family and friends. It was a mainstream, kind of like it came out around the Jason Aldean Hicktown time. So it's this slamming, rockin' fun country. Has nothing to do with the military whatsoever. Although we did put a little military thing in there. My roommate from when I was a TAC officer was actually in there in his uniform. But anyway, but he said, well, Ryan, here's the thing about country music that I think you really need to grab a hold of. And it's that people can see clean through disingenuous music. They can see clean through disingenuous, anything that is not real. And I agree with his opinion in some regards, but then the Taylor Swifts come out, and then all these other folks that get run through the mill that have millions upon millions of dollars that get run through the mill, and the songs are all the same, the lyrics are all the same, you know, the chord progressions are all the same. You know, you run through all this, and
pretty much boring with a twist, maybe.
It just doesn't. To me, there's a lot of. It's just not genuine. So that in that regard, but he did say the one thing about you that is powerful is you don't have to. In order to, music connects with people's hearts. It should connect with people's hearts in one way or another, and you don't have to shy away from your story because it's real. It's not like you have to make it up, and it's not like it is an extraordinary story, but having said that, you don't have to. And also, there was something, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, and sorry to talk like blah, 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 but
you're good.
That's what we're doing here. The one thing that I never, ever, ever wanted to do was give off the impression that I was trying to make a living off of my brother's sacrifices, that I was trying to become famous off of my brother's sacrifices. I've
never had that impression of your music at all.
And the thing is, because I've been so dead set on making sure that people understood how much his sacrifice and his memory should mean to everyone, as opposed to it just being that, you know, his losing him was a huge part of having him was a huge part of who I am as a person, because I grew up with him as my mentor and admiring him and loving him for being, you know, a year and 9 months older than me, my big brother. And losing him, I can't, it made me who I am, because I live with it every single day. I wake up in the morning every single day and with that loss, and with Randy's loss, my brother-in-law's loss in Afghanistan in 2013 as well. But I didn't want that to define who I was going to be as an artist. I didn't want it to define who I was going to be as an entrepreneur. I didn't want it to define who I was going to be as a grown man. Although it is part of who I am, I didn't want it to be the only factor that people looked at me and said, oh, poor Ryan, he lost his brother in Iraq, and he lost his brother-in-law in Afghanistan, and he had to go through all these things.
It's a part of what you are. It doesn't define what you are.
Right. I didn't want to have that as part of it. So I shied away from it. I tried to go mainstream in that regard. And David said, and I value his opinion in this 100%, because I started doing it and it lifted a lot of weight off my shoulders as well. it was almost like I was trying to run from what was hurting me the most by trying to keep it from the public spot, public forum. And the more that I started talking about Aaron, and I always made a promise, regardless, every time I got on stage from the very beginning, that I would never let anybody forget about his sacrifice. There's always some point in the night, no matter where I was or what I was doing, that I would talk about it and let people understand that was the reason I was standing on stage, that I really was going after this. And he was the catalyst. His death was the catalyst for it. But having said that, once again, there's that fine line of whether, it is what, whether I'm using that sacrifice to forward my career. So then David told me, and like I said, I know I've gone or beat around this a few times, but he said, Ryan, if you tell his story, and if you talk to people about how you are using music and you are chasing your dreams because of his sacrifice, those kind of things, which is exactly, I told those things to him. That's why I said, if you tell people about that, your music is going to inspire people to want to be successful and to want to do great things. And they're going to understand when they're in a dark hole, how they can get, that they can relate and get out of it and fight their way back to success and fight their way to making things amazing happen in their lives. But they're losing out on that opportunity if you don't go there, if you're not willing to be you.
Put yourself
because
out there.
You're trying to be an artist, but there's a huge part of who you are that folks are missing out on. So I started, I didn't focus on doing military music or patriotic music, and I didn't focus on doing music about Aaron. But I did start talking about it more, and I did, and a million pounds of weight just got lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I had a forum to be able to discuss the realities of sacrifice and the realities of being left behind.
It's therapeutic, and it's good for you, and it makes you a better person and an artist.
And also, I think that one of the things that being selfish and not speaking about it, I would say being selfish and holding that close to the vest, it also prevented opportunities for me to help out my brothers and sisters in arms and the law enforcement, all the folks that are my primary demographic, in feeling comfortable to talk about the shit that we've all dealt with, and being comfortable to actually reach out and talk to your brothers and sisters that are out there that have dealt with loss or dealt with something that very, very few people in the entire United States will ever understand, much less experience themselves. And I felt that once my platform started growing, it was imperative that I did it, not just for me, but for all of the causes that I believe in, that I've worked with, all the people that I believed in, or that I've worked with and become friends with, the folks that I've come across that you can see that they've got so much hurt. And I have a way to be able to use my platform to change that and to create a positive message in that regard. And I know I've gone way off on a tangent here because we were talking about my political beliefs, and that was the question that you actually asked, and I'll get back to that.
I was just wondering if because if anybody pays attention to you kind of know where you lean. I was just wondering if that has hindered you, or maybe thrown a cog, or just like a wrench into things. It's like, yeah, we really like you, but except for that thing.
Well, let's talk about real Nashville here. If we want to get real about Nashville, there are two things that are going to make you successful in Nashville, and talent isn't one of them. I learned this a long time ago.
That's a hard lesson. That is a hard lesson. There's some very talented musicians in Nashville that you'll never hear of.
Never. I mean, go downtown Nashville at any given night. Go to any of these bars down there. Every single one of them were the big fish in a little pond where they came from and killing it. And they moved to Nashville to try and make it, and they're playing on Broadway. And they have this saying, it's called they say once on Broadway, always on Broadway. Mm-hmm. Once you get down there, it's hard to get away from it because it's a grind, and it's 4-hour sets, and it's from bar to bar to bar to bar. It's all that stuff. And, but they do call Nashville a 10-year town as well. It takes about 10 years for you to be able to get the networking done, to be able to find the doors that you need to open and how to open those doors and what route you want to take. And I was told this when I first came into town, and this is as clear as it gets, and I'll give you the two things. Guy named Wayne Halper, he was the chief of operations for Capitol Records when Garth Brooks took off. He's a sleazebag lawyer in town. I don't know if he's still alive, because when I came into town, it was quite some time ago, and he was old already. But he was known for taking advantage of independent artists and taking their money on consultant deals and all this kind of stuff as an entertainment lawyer. But he was incredibly intelligent, and he gave me the best advice that I could have gotten when I first got into town, that I took to heart and used. And he said that 1,000 people come to Nashville a day with a guitar and a dream. And 1,000 people leave Nashville a day with an empty guitar case because they had to sell it so that they could get themselves back home because they didn't learn about the music business. That's what it boils down to. And there are two things that make you successful: who you know and how much money you have.
God,
that's it.
It's so greasy. But
that's all it is. Who you know and how much money you have, because who you know opens up the doors for you, and they're willing to work with you, and they're willing to help. They're willing to help. But a lot of those doors and knowing those people starts with how much money you bring to town. A lot of these artists that everybody hears on the radio, they came into town, or when they were in town, they ended up with a lot of money behind them so that the record label didn't have to front the cash, because they don't do that anymore. It's not the same as it used to be. When you used to get $16 albums, then they can make a shit ton of money off you as an artist. But now people are streaming stuff live, and you get 0.007 cents a stream. The record labels aren't making money off of that.
Yeah, I mean, everything's Spotify right now, which is it's good for some, but not for someone who's not a Taylor Swift.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Spotify is a gauge for promoters to be able to figure out whether they want to book you for a concert or not. That's really what it boils down to, because the concerts are concerts, merchandise, and the things that I've been able to do outside my own partner brands, with like Patch Ops or Grit Gear Apparel. I got to pimp them out. By my partner brands, my Lane Boots, all those different things. Those are additional streams of income. Fortunately, I don't have a manager taking money away from that. But yeah, so. But that's Nashville. That was a hard thing for me, because I was coming to town, and every time I came to town, I had this huge lightning bolt of energy. It was like, oh, I'm in Nashville. This is where music is made. This is where the dreams are shattered and made at the same time. And I'm a grinder, and I'm gonna make it happen. And I'm gonna do all these things to be successful. But back to the political thing. I had already in town and then things kind of changed. I'm give you I had already in town realized that I was going to be looked at as a military guy first.
Okay.
And so I had to make my own way, and I knew that the independent route was going to be the way I was going to have to do it, or find myself an investor or funding, to get behind me. So pretty much, I set out on a path to get my first song and music video done. The first song I ever wrote before I even moved to Nashville was "Crank It," and that was the first video that I ever put out. But
what year was that? What year was "Crank It"? That was 14, 15, 14? Before that?
I think it was 12.
12.
I think I came out with it. It was either 12 or 13, I think. Because 14 was when I performed at the Ryman with Charlie Daniels the first time, and "Crank It" was already out.
That makes sense.
At that time, and that was 2014. So anyway, at that point, I knew that I had to make it as an artist the best way that I could, but I had to realize that everyone was going to look at me as a military guy first. Well, then come let's take step, years down the line, obviously, and then comes the elections. And, I served underneath four different presidents. I got to see the best and the worst of it all. Went to combat under one and retired under another one. And, when we started seeing our country, when Trump was going, as soon as he came down that escalator, and not to get into a Trump-Biden thing specifically, but when he came down that escalator, you got to see the United States start to turn to shit almost instantly, because they were trying to destroy it because they hated him so much. You started seeing the Antifas, you started seeing the BLM stuff in Obama's time frame, That's really when they started coming out. But then they started really ramping things up. And it was evident to me that everything that I love about this country and everything that I served this country for was already starting to be, come under attack during the Obama time. But then, of course, when Trump came down that escalator, then you just saw it start to ramp up. I mean, it was a skyrocket of just negative shit going on.
And it was a lot of hate. It was based on nothing really, rumors and fake crap.
Yeah, but for me, that's I didn't get involved in the politics side of things until I wanted to start pointing out the hypocrisies and the how, and I'm going to say this, and I know how the three of us all of a sudden became enemy number one. Now, I don't know if if you guys have any minority blood in you, but I've got a little bit, a Native American blood in me. Not like I have a little bit more than Warren does, but but having said that, I got to see how all of a sudden white men become the enemy, and police became the enemy, and our military was starting to be looked down on, and all these different things start happening. And I was just saying, none of this makes any sense whatsoever, other than for destruction and division of this country. And pointing out those hypocrisies and pointing out the false narratives and the lies and the bullshit that was going on, that was more my focus, because Hillary could not get into that presidency. I became friends with John Tigan and Chris Peranto. They were in my Burn music video. I got to know their story and how they got left behind. And I know what my family went through and having to deal with that loss and being left behind in a situation like that. I got to know those stories, and the truth mattered to me. So the truth, I guess, me putting the truth out turned into more politics than anything, unfortunately, because the truth ended up on one side of the aisle and not the other. So I felt it was important that I use my platform for that as well. Now, has that hindered me in the music business? As I said, the record labels are owned by Los Angeles and New York. So the record labels at the top, it's all liberal. It's way left. So the chances, so I'm going to give you a little inside scoop on something. So I got picked up by the PBR, Professional Bull Riders.
That was great.
They picked me up as the patriotic voice of the Professional Bull Riders. Give you a little background on that. I was at a veterans nonprofit event, rock concert, biker rally in Colorado Springs. The PBR, Professional Bull Riders, was the sponsor of that event. I opened for Dokken, Warrant, and Jack Russell's Great White.
Oh my gosh.
Great show. I love 80s rock, man. It was so good. You love Dokken, you said?
I love Dokken. George Lynch is probably George Lynch made me pick up the guitar.
Well, I will tell you that Dokken is a fucking dick.
Oh, man.
He is a tool, an absolute tool. I will tell that to anybody. I don't want to go up. I got a whole story about that night when I got discovered anyway. I mean, but let's just say that we got treated like absolute shit by Dokken and his people.
I'm sorry that happened.
Shit. But having said that, because I was, well, I'll tell you how I got discovered. I was on stage performing, and Dokken's manager, I'm the only veteran on a veteran nonprofit event bill. Dokken's manager comes on stage 3 songs into my 45-minute set and says, "You guys are done, get the fuck off stage. Dokken will not start late." I'm on the front of the stage singing and had no idea that he came on stage and told one of my guys that we were done. So I get done with my song. Now, Mark Geist, one of the other big guys had driven up to the show because he wanted to get on stage and sing Burn with me. He had driven to the show. I had not sang my song about my brother. We were supposed to raise some money for the nonprofit on stage. None of that had happened. There was all this stuff that's part of the show that they didn't give a shit about. They just cared about starting late. And all this, we were there to raise money for my brothers and sisters in arms. We weren't there so that Dokken wouldn't start late. Anyway, so he told me, and my wife was videoing, and I was like, okay, I don't cuss on stage. I don't drop F-bombs. I try to make it family friendly most of the time. But I was at a biker rally and a veteran event, and I figured if I was going to drop some F-bombs, that was an okay time to do it.
It's pretty acceptable.
Yeah. So I got on front of the stage and I started dropping F-bombs and was saying, I'm the only veteran on stage that on this bill. I'm here to raise money for my brothers and sisters in arms. They brought my whole band out here to play this show. I said, and I'm going to finish my set. Well, my wife, she was videoing and she pulled the video.
Holy
she's like
shit.
well, when I was cussing, she's like, what is going on? Ryan doesn't cuss on stage like that. Anyway, so the CEO of PBR was in the front row and I didn't know it. I had no idea who he was. Got done with the show, got off the side of the stage, was signing autographs. And he comes up to me and says, I work with the PBR. I'd like to, I've got some plans for 2017, 2018. I'd love for you to get involved. And tell me if I'm limited if I got to shut up and limit on time because I got stories for days. But anyway, so I had no idea who he was. Went up, signed some merchandise for him, and then I went back to the bus and looked, and it was the CEO. I'm like, holy shit, it's the CEO of the PBR. And if anybody doesn't know what the PBR is out there, it's all major arena shows, massive shows, biggest arenas across the nation.
It's all it's the pro bull riders, right?
Professional bull riders, and it's the top 35 bull riders in the world, and they're competing on the biggest, baddest bulls that have to qualify, and these bulls are just insane. If anybody hasn't been to a PBR event, go. You should put it on a bucket list of things to do.
And I haven't, and I'm like, it's just a rodeo. No, it's not a rodeo.
No. Don't get me wrong. A rodeo is awesome. It's great, but this is just everybody comes to watch the bulls at the end of the rodeo. This whole event is nothing but bulls, and these bulls are bigger than most rodeo or any rodeo that you're probably ever going to go watch. And they're badass. And it's a rock show. It's pyrotechnic. It's all this kind of stuff. And spend money on the VIP tickets, folks. I'm telling you right now, because you're right next to the chutes. It's worth every penny. Just an amazing thing. Well, here's the thing. So they said I was like, holy shit, it's the CEO. And I went out and I said, I apologize. I didn't know who you were. I didn't, because I pay attention to the first person that's in front of me. I'm not looking over their shoulder to try and find out what's happening next. And he said, no, I sat back and I watched how you treat people, and you make sure that every single person in front of you is the most important person. And that's the way the PBR treats folks. I love your story. I love your show. I love your background. And you would be a great representative for the PBR. I'd like to get you involved. So that was 2016. 2016. So we wrote, and then we co-wrote a 4-song EP called Celebrating America. And Steven Tyler from Aerosmith was a headliner at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas for the World Finals in 2016. I was the headliner in 2017 for their Saturday night. Nobody knew who I was. It was incredible. My first show in 2018 was Madison Square Garden, and we did 28 arenas across the nation in 18-19. They sent me to Australia for 4 shows in 19, and then, of course, the world shut down 20, and then I went back for 2 shows last year. So anyway, but that's how I got involved with the PBR.
How bad did COVID? Because you were like on this upward trajectory, and then COVID hit, and it's just like no one's doing anything. There's no concerts, there's no rodeos, there's no nothing, and that kind of
We had 5 shows scheduled for in 19 with them, and I think that was probably going to be my sunset year with them because they only go with an artist for a year, and they brought me on for 2 years, which was great. But I mean, Australia started picking up, and they wanted me to get involved in Australia because they love bringing Americans over there. They're freaking awesome. I mean, just great people. So I had a feeling. I thought that I was going to in 2020 have several shows with the Australian PBR, but I don't think I was going to be with the US PBR at that point. My world shut down as far as shows and motivational speaking is concerned because I was also doing motivational speaking at the time. But my partner brands all did very well during COVID because all my demographic is law enforcement, first responders, military. So the folks that buy my stuff, my T-shirts and my hats and all that kind of stuff, that really helped me pay the bills when I lost 8 concerts, 5 motivational speaking engagements, and 5 possible concerts because I'm not counting the 5 that I was going to go to Australia on. and 5 possible concerts that were in the works. I had already signed a contract for 8 concerts for the year. And usually with me, they're 3 to 4 months out. I had already signed them, so my world got shut down as far as that's concerned. And then, you start trying to figure out different ways of getting your music out there and doing different things. And it just so happened the political climate was pretty stout at that time as well. So my political commentary started picking up and gaining the more of a foundation of followers on the political side of things, just as much as the music side of things. So I wouldn't necessarily even say it's political. It's just patriotic.
Yeah.
How the hell loving America and being patriotic all of a sudden became political? I have no freaking clue.
Or how is that a bad thing? So tell me about your go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't want to not mention your motivational speaking stuff. What kind of corporations do you talk to? What do you talk about?
I've spoken for HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning companies. I've spoken to communications companies. I've spoken to veterans organizations. I do keynotes at nonprofit events and for galas, for conferences. What we really started doing was combining the motivational speaking with the concert, the concert combo, because there are a lot of great motivational speakers out there, but there aren't a lot that actually perform as well. Mm-hmm. So essentially most conferences, they'll have a keynote speaker or motivational speaker, but then they'll have a gala night. So we started combining both of those together so then they get a full band concert. But it's almost like you're hanging out with friends at that point, because my motivational speaking goes through my story, my timeline, and how I found success outside the box as an independent artist in the partner brands. And I mean, first independent country music artist in the history of country music to have my own cowboy boot line on Broadway in Boot Barn. That was a pretty cool thing to be able to say, that I did that without having a song on the radio, no management, no formal record deal, none of that. And to be able to do it with what I felt was having my brothers, or what I still feel is my brothers driving me, that loss driving me to want to be successful. That loss was a huge roadblock in my life, and I wanted to try and turn it into a speed bump and blow my suspension out, riding across it as quickly as I could to get to the other side to success. And that's what I talk about, finding that success outside the box and looking at loss and adversity as an opportunity to find success by using that to fuel your fire to be successful. It's a very, when I'm speaking, it's brutal. And I get emotional. I think I cry every time I talk, because I have to talk about my brothers, and I have to talk about losing them. And I go there, and it's something that, I've been to a lot of motivational speakers. Hey, here's my 6 bullet points to success. If you follow these 6 bullet points, you're going to find success. You're going to do this, buy my book, or all these different things. And when I get up there and I talk, I don't necessarily have a sales pitch. I should, because I need to monetize it even more. And I'm, I'm working on a book, so we'll see. That's going to be part of it. But being able to tell Aaron's story is cathartic up there. Being able to talk about how Randy died and how our family had to go through that a second time, and what it means to be a member of a 2-time Gold Star family, which I think that you could probably count on, your fingers and toes, maybe, to the number of 2-time Gold Star families that are, in the United States. But being able to talk about that sacrifice and that loss and turning it into success, and taking your mind outside of what's sitting in front of you and looking outside the box and thinking outside the box on how you can find that success. One of the biggest things that I also incorporate in there is that competition factor that I talk about between veterans, especially if I'm talking to veteran organizations or veteran companies, if they want me to come in and speak to their veteran leadership or whatever it may be, talking about that success or that competition and getting rid of it. We have so much. We have discipline, we have drive, we have camaraderie, we have loss, we have success and battle, and doing all these things together as veterans. We have all that, and we can use that to find success together as a team. And
rather than shit talk each other and put each other down, and
shit talk each other and bring each other down. Anytime a veteran finds success, the other veterans or other veterans in the same field are looking at him saying, "Oh, did this or did that or whatever, it didn't stay. You know, there's always that. And for me, I would prefer that we take those opportunities, and I talk about those opportunities to use each other to find to find success on the backside. And it's been pretty valuable because I've had so many people, not necessarily to me in that regard, but I found so many people as I'm speaking to them about my losses, where they find, they'll come up to me afterwards and say, Ryan, like, holy shit, man. I was sitting there listening to you tell your story, and it's not exactly like mine, but when I was in Afghanistan, my best friend that I'd known for years, we've been stationed together. We went to boot together, whatever it may be. I watched him die, and I have not been able to figure out how to get past that. I have not figured out how to be able to get out of this. I feel like I'm just coasting through life, and you've shown me that I don't have to do that. That you can lose and have that hurt, which I have every single day. It doesn't go away, but use that hurt to find success and find. And he said, I've got so many ideas that I've been wanting to make, to turn into action, but I just haven't found the motivation to do it. And I never thought to take that loss and not let it be a hindrance and use it to fuel me. And that's, for me, is invaluable to have that feedback especially from a brother in arms. It really meant the world. But that's kind of what we do. We play music while I speak. I play the acoustic versions of my songs, because it's a timeline thing. And then we play the full music video to show them, hey, I want to show you guys how this really happens in Nashville, like how a song is written, and then what it turns into. And I also want to show you the fact that everything you're going to see was self-funded through crowdfunding with my fans. I have never had someone, I don't have $1 million behind me to do all this, getting that boot deal, getting my t-shirt deals and partnerships, all those things. It's all been self-made. I haven't had somebody do that for me. I've had people help me. I could say that, and I will be forever in their debt. David Corlew helped me in getting these really cool resume building shows like the Ryman, like Bridgestone Arena, the Grand Ole Opry with Charlie. Those are incredible, incredible moments that he helped me achieve. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. And I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of the fans and everybody that's out there. And I talk about I run through that storyline. And it's a little bit different. It's a little bit unique in that regard, because we get to play music while we do it. Got to do the things that I'm passionate about while I'm talking about what I've been
through two, like, motivational, like a company, everyone come here, this person's going to talk. Never have I been really motivated. Like, maybe at that time I've been motivated, but nothing really stuck. And there was never ever music involved. There was never a personal connection. So I think going through one of yours would be just motivational as hell.
Well, I mean, we're honestly the route that I'm looking at going now. I mean, I just turned 50.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, it was Valentine's Day. It just turned 50. So I'm not getting any younger, and the music business really is if you want to get started, it's hard to get started later on in life. There are very, very few people. I don't want to say started, because I've been doing this since 2006, but getting a song on the radio top 40 is like $35,000 a month just in promotion alone.
God,
a lot of folks don't realize that. And it costs a ton of money to get a song on the radio. Independent artists nowadays, like, you have so many independent artists nowadays that are making it. We have a lot of conservative. I like that haircut, man. You have so many conservative artists that are out there. I don't think you heard me. So I like your haircut. I can't do this, but conservative artists out there that are doing really well on iTunes and all and whatnot, that have done really well for themselves and found out that niche, to find success. But I realized that I'm not necessarily going to be a top 40 artist ever, and I'm fine with that. But what I have seen a significant impact in is me being able to. I mean, I've always done my music for my concerts. I have an 85% original material show. I haven't gone back to the club days of putting in a lot of covers and whatnot to do, corporate events. Well, we're shifting focus on that so that I can do the corporate event concerts and entertain with, some of my original material, but a lot of the stuff that everybody wants to listen to when they do corporate events. It's a great way to fund my projects as well.
What's your favorite cover? What's your favorite cover?
Shoot. There's a song called Home by Mark Broussard. I don't know if you ever heard it or not. A guy named Mark Broussard. If you listen to that one, we love doing that one. Man, that's a tough one. I love Travis Tritt.
Wait till my next question.
Okay, so here, one of my songs that actually you would think is an original is a cover, and it is one of our favorite songs to do, period. It's at the end of the set. It's called Swamp Thing. I've actually recorded a demo of that song, but
nice.
A guy named songwriter named Jeffrey Steele actually cut that song, and it's already been cut by a couple other artists out there. But Swamp Thing, it's a pretty nasty swamp. I mean, just nasty slamming song. That's why we saved it for last. That and We Got It Going On with Bon Jovi and Big and Rich. Those two songs usually finish off our set.
This kind of leads into my next question, and I think you can answer this. What are the top 3 songs that you play that aren't country? Do you have any?
Oh yeah, I mean, we do a ZZ Top mashup. I love doing Kryptonite. That's one of my favorite songs to sing live. It's a fun song. What would be a good one? That's tough, man.
No Rainbow.
In my regular show, if I'm not doing it, I'm sorry. What's that?
Said No Rainbow, like OG metal, like Ron and James.
The stuff
Rainbow.
that you would be surprised listening. The stuff that I do is pretty freaking slamming. Like it is if you're watching Burn, when you're watching that music video, the live performance scenes when we're in a hangar, how it's slamming like that. That's our live. That is my live show. I mean, it is a slam. I mean, all of that was done in a hangar, but you'll see that the way that we do that, that's how my show is. And it goes, I mean, there's some emotional stuff because I tell Aaron's story, but for the most part, I mean, we start off with Good Year for the Outlaw, which is a cover, but a lot of folks wouldn't know it's a cover. And the show is slamming. I mean, it is, I mean, you listen to Burn, that's just nastiness. We put a lot of 80s rock. 80s rock is infused in my country music. I that's what I grew up listening to. Late 70s, 80s rock, Guns N' Roses, Metallica. Yeah, I mean, I love it being hard like that. And for me, it's if I haven't hurt myself in my show, because I usually end up hurting something.
You got to pack something nice.
Busting an, I don't know, hurting my ankle, busting a knee, something, because I stomp and I'm jumping around. Fortunately, I've only fallen off the stage twice, but it wasn't an intentional stage dive. It was an unintentional stage dive with a 1/4-inch cable wrapped around my leg from my guitar player.
No.
But yeah, and they didn't catch me either. It was that. Yeah, they didn't catch me or my microphone. I hit the ground. But yeah, I mean, so let me see. Cover songs, best songs that we've got in the set. Most of my stuff. Great Day to Be Alive is a great one. Travis Tritt. I love that song. Great Day to Be Alive is a good one. Trouble is another good one from Travis Tritt. We used to do a lot of back when I was doing the club scene, Jason Aldean stuff, because it's harder. But we've got a few cover songs that we're going to add to the mix. Brantley Gilbert stuff that is going to be a pretty slamming one. But as far as rock is concerned, we do a Give Me All Your Lovin', Sharp Dressed Man mashup, which is a pretty cool, fun thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I'll have people have to come out and see the show and see which one's their favorite, I guess is the best thing to say. For me, my original stuff, What You Think of Me, is by far, it's we haven't released that song yet, but that's the song about my brother. Love doing that one live. And I think that Swamp Thing is probably, even though we haven't released a song and probably won't record it as one of mine, I would like to. But that's a pretty slamming song as well.
So music, and you've talked about this earlier, is pretty much therapeutic. Not on the stage. We got Ryan Weaver driving down the road in his pickup truck. What song do you put on that kind of recenters you?
I hardly listen to the radio at all. I get on 80s and 90s on Sirius XM and Spotify. The playlist that I have playing on Spotify is our show. I listen to our show over and over and over again. It's interesting. But for me, I mean, lately, I'm incredibly proud of, let's talk about Heroes. I'm incredibly proud of that project. I'm incredibly proud of what we're going to do with What You Think of Me, because next year is the 20th anniversary of Aaron's death. And we're trying to get the video funded for it. It's going to be this, if anybody hasn't watched my videos out there, we always are, generally speaking, we tell a story. There's some kind of a storyline that goes with it. We try to do, have something that is impactful when somebody gets done watching the video, like, wow, that definitely doesn't look like an independent artist music video. What You Think of Me is going to be that. But I think now, if I just need to, if I need to let everything just disappear, and because something, I need to get my head straight, I always listen to What You Think of Me because it brings me right back to the reason why I'm doing all of it, why I started, not why I'm doing it, but why I started doing it. And my life doesn't suck. My life, I have an amazing life. I've been fortunate to do so many incredible things. I have amazing friends and family in my life. I have an amazing wife. And we all get to have those moments where we're like, man, what the fuck is going on? Like, why? I don't understand this. And then, you start getting down about things and start feeling sorry for yourself. I try not to do that as much as possible, simply because nothing's ever going to be worse than the day that I found out my brother died. And nothing's going to be worse than the day I found out my brother-in-law died. And it's hard to, look at life when you've been through those things and say, everything is so bad right now, when it could be so much worse. And also, I'm not shitting in a 150-degree porta potty. So I always look at my circumstances and I say, the 3 worst moments of my life are 3 worst things that I can look back on and say, I'm not shit's not stacked to the seat, and it's not 150 degrees, and I have to keep the door open so I don't pass out in here while I'm taking a dump. Yes.
So later on this year, you've got Warrior Weekend 2023 coming up in Florida. Tell us about that.
So there are 2 things that right now I'm solid. Actually, 3 things I'm solidly booked for. I'm actually going to be at Stagecoach. I'm going to make an announcement here shortly. At Stagecoach, there's a brand new organization that's conservative centric, that has a bunch of conservative influencers and artists and whatnot. And we're going to try and bring conservative culture back to the to cultural events, to bring conservatism back to those cultural events and show how much we love everybody out there in that regard. But I also have the Great American Summit. I'm going to be speaking at that again. That's in Texas. You guys can look up Great American Syndicate and the Great American Summit. But Warrior Weekend, I've been supporting the Warrior Shield Foundation since they got started. Before they were the Warrior Shield Foundation, working with one of my best friends on the planet, Chance Shawell. He's the president of the board's former federal air marshal. They're going to be supporting the boot campaign this year. Mm-hmm. They support they've supported other nonprofits, 14th Hour Foundation, Chris Pronto's organization, Beyond the Battlefield. That's John Tigan's old foundation. I don't believe that they're a foundation anymore. Wheelchairs for Warriors, and this year the boot campaign. Great organizations, vetted organizations, doing amazing things for our heroes and their families. This year I get to open for Ray Land, which I'm excited about that. She's a huge patriot and supporter of our patriots, our heroes out there as well. And it's going to be a great. I get to do a great concert and have a lot of fun on Warrior Weekend. It's always September 11th weekend, so this one's going to be September 8th and 9th and 10th. If folks want to sponsor or come down to Orlando and be part of it, they have vendor booths open. They're going to be doing all kinds of things. with that. And it's going to be an awesome, incredible weekend.
That is awesome, dude. So before we get out of here, where can everybody see Ryan Weaver on the social medias and stuff?
RyanWeaver.net. But for everybody out there that's, if you go to RyanWeaver.net, all my socials are on my homepage. Having said that, Ryan Weaver Country are my official pages for Instagram and Facebook. If it doesn't have a blue check mark, it's not me. There's a Ryan Weaver Country backup. That is my backup because I got banned right around Christmas time for posting something about the vaccine or something anyway. But
spreading medical disinformation. Yeah, we've been there.
Yeah. But Ryan Weaver Country on Instagram and Facebook, those are my two primary pages. I'm also, I got rid of my TikTok because the whole China thing. It's interesting that all of the social media outlets have the same disclaimer that they can suck everything they want out of your phone, but everybody's worried about TikTok more than anything else for whatever reason it is, because it's China-based. Anyway, all that aside, I'm on True Social. I'm on all that. You can find me. I believe that I'm verified on all of those except for Twitter. I just got my Twitter account back, and I haven't figured out how to crack that nut yet.
I've kind of lost my enthusiasm with Twitter. I got banned for
I
saying
lost it a long time ago, and
yeah.
Shit, I tried to get it back, and it's just I don't understand it. You got to be a person on there that already has a ton of followers or something like that for anybody to pay attention to anything you're doing. And quite honestly, where I am in my music career, I don't feel like building up an entire a whole entire platform again. Unless it's gonna, I mean, I was on Parler, I've been on all that stuff, and it's either a vacuum of information, or it's segregated to the bigs. Fortunately,
it's an echo chamber. It's
a vacuum of information or echo chamber. You're right. I mean, and it seemed like even conservative stuff in those on some of the conservative sites was falling on deaf ears, but. True Social, is also involved in this conservative group that I'm talking about, and they're supporting that or working with that organization. So my hopes are that we can expand more on True Social and try and find a larger platform to be able to continue to get that information out and connect with my brothers and sisters in arms in law enforcement and military.
Yeah, I'm looking for getting a little bit more involved. So I'm gonna check out RyanWeaver.net and see where you are going to be in Texas, because that's kind of where I am. So
I believe it's in Houston. I think it's in Houston this year. I think. Okay. But the Great American Summit, if you look up the Great American Syndicate as well, they're kind of folks like us. They're doing that whole, the whole getting a bunch of us together. That it would be great if you're in the area, obviously, to bring your podcast to the Great American Summit, and because you're going to have a ton of conservative influencers, not just a lot of people don't like the word influencers, but it is what it is. Influencers, artists, motivational speakers, you name it. It was great last year. Dave Webb was there. We had so many, Martha Krychek. I mean, there's so many amazing folks that are there. Ian Winster was a speaker. I'm sure that you know all these names, but just a bunch of patriots that got up there, and Cash was there. You name it. Just a ton of great people there to bring on the show. I mean, you'll have content for days, multiple episodes with them, and a lot of folks that just like me don't know how to shut the fuck up.
So I guess we're gonna sign off tonight. Thank you, Ryan, for hanging out with us. I know you're busy, man. You got all kinds of stuff going on. You're a highly motivated individual. I can't wait to see you. I mean, do you think you'd ever play another stadium like Arlington, Texas?
Man,
that was badass.
I hope I get the opportunity to do that. I mean, in front of 41,000 people, and that place was surreal. It was the biggest place I've obviously ever played. Second biggest crowd I've ever played to, but still, it just doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I would love to. But I mean, who knows? There's no telling what can go down. Especially we have so many things in the works that are a couple of years. It always takes so much time to get things going. But my hopes are that, even at the ripe old age of 50, that when people come out and see the show, they're gonna be like, yeah, it's a pretty incredible thing. I want to have him out. So
I think you can pick up what I'm putting down, that in a couple of years, I think things are going to be changing. I think it's going to be for the better. And I think we'll see more.
I have a song called He's Still Your President. I think that we need to rewrite that song and say he's your president again. I hope that's the way that it goes anyway.
I got you.
Anyway, a lot of folks on the Trump side of things, whatever, we can get away from the Trump thing, but my hopes are that as soon as we can get this freaking clown show out of office, that the United States can start uprighting itself again.
I think so.
Because this has been an absolute disaster for the last 2 years, and I will stay vocal about it. I'm guessing it's okay for me to talk about say that.
You can say anything you want. All right, Ryan. We are going to sign off,
No,
and I really
say
do.
Anything. He just sat over there quiet with a beautiful beard. Is that what he does?
That's
what he does when we have a guest on. He's our support staff.
Yeah.
Oh, you're the producer. You're the producer essentially on this,
Yeah.
right?
No.
All right, everybody. Everybody say goodbye to Ryan Weaver. We're going to take a short little break. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. We're going to take a short break. We're going to come back, and we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to sign off. So
I really appreciate you guys having me, man.
Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see whatever you've got on tap in the future.
I can't wait to meet you in person. We'll see you guys soon.
That would be great. Thank you very much.
Peace
We're
out.
out. All right, everybody, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be back very, very shortly. Enjoy these tunes here. That didn't go as planned.
What happened?
Where's my audio? I can't find my audio. I gotta find my audio. All right.
You have to push the button.
All right, we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Hang tight. One song. This is it.
This is WTF Nation Radio.
How you feeling there, Mac?
Good enough to fuck your mother!
WTF Nation Radio. WTF Nation Radio.
All right, everybody, we are back. We are back. This is the part 2.1 of Friday Night Freedom here on WTF Nation Radio. My name is Koz. That's Pooky. Yes. Thank you very much for our guest, our guest Ryan Weaver, for hanging out with us, man. That guy has got so much stuff going on. I can't imagine the amount of just the drive. This is the kind of drive that just it'll make or break you. You either have it or you don't. And Ryan's got it, and it's very impressive. And I'm jealous because I don't necessarily have that. If everything, it's really easy to be successful when you're typical. He's very much the atypical success story, and everything that he's got, he's earned. And it's awesome. I could talk to him for hours. I wish I knew the right questions to ask and the conversations to have, but I feel very privileged to have had that conversation with Ryan. So head out to ryanweaver.net, find out where he's going to be. I can't say that I'm going to be in Houston, but I'm going to check out the Great American Syndicate and see what they got going on here in Texas. And hang out and find some like-minded people. So I guess that's all I can do. And if there's a bonus, and Ryan Weaver's going to be playing a concert and giving some kind of a motivational speech there, I will be more happy to partake. Let me see. Eric Reiner says, I can't remember who plays this song, but I know I see him on Chapman guitar. Yes. I think he was Chapman. I think he got rid of Chapman. Not got rid of. Not like they had a breaking up. But I think he might be doing Fender now. I'm not sure. But his name is Rabea Masad. I actually got introduced to him through Leo Moriccioli. He did a song. He played the solo in a song, and I've been a fan ever since. He's speaking about the song that I played earlier. But yeah, Rabea is just badass. He's a Brit. He's got this big ass fro that's like this big, and he can shred on the freaking guitar, man. He's just awesome. Anyway, I'm here to close out the show because it's about that time where I think we're past about half an hour or so. I ain't got no problem with that. So here's our lineup. So on this Sunday, all the shows, by the way, are 2000 Eastern. Sunday is the Sports Bar. Monday is the Monday edition. Pop Culture Warrior graces us on Tuesday. The Smoke Pit, which is the new show, is on Wednesday. Sergeant's Time, of course. A staple to the WTF Nation is Sergeant's Time. And then Friday Night Freedom here with Koz and Pooky. I also must mention that the Sports Bar made us crash earlier. But you can watch their show. They're a new program, and they talk sports, and it's not just this team played that team and the score was 6-8. It was they kind of get down in the weeds on why things happen, and if things were different, this is how they might happen, and then they talk about college ball players and major like NFL. We just got wrapped up with the Superb Bowl.
The bowl of the superb.
The bowl of the superness.
You can't
say that. If you try to say super, it automatically beeps, and this is really weird.
Yes.
So anyway, they do all the sports things. What I would like to do is have Coach talk about the pro bowling circuit this Sunday.
Like bowling,
like bowling, not bowling for soup, but bowling for pins.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see that.
Like maybe the super of bowling. That would be cool.
The super
or tennis.
Okay.
I mean, it's the sports bar, so that kind of covers all sports. What if you play darts? Is darts a sport or golf?
Darts is a sport.
Darts is hard. Darts is actually how I was in an accident, and a part of my rehab for my arm, because my arm was crushed. So I've got like it's like metal in.
Oh, yeah,
I'm like a cyborg from the elbow down on the right hand side.
Yeah,
between my wrist and my elbow, it's metal, and that's it. So a part of my rehab was to play darts, to learn how to use my arm again. So that's how I got involved in darts. So that's the only reason I mentioned that.
No, I like darts.
So anyway, we got shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 nights a week. We're just missing Saturday, which is a Donza. That's a Donza. That might be. It's kind of like a wash your minivan day. All right, everybody. I think we're going to be out of here. It's past my bedtime because I'm old.
Yes.
Thank you all for hanging out, and you all know what our shows are. I don't have the cut sheet because I got home with like what 20 minutes till showtime. I got home from work, so I didn't have a chance to do all that cool stuff, all my cool homework. Unless you got the cut sheet in front of you.
No, just pay attention to our main platforms, like the Facebooks and the Twitters and everything like that. And you'll see what's coming up. Follow us.
Like and follow and subscribe. All right, everybody. You guys take care, and we'll see you next week. We're out.
Taxation is theft.
Taxation is definitely theft.
Radio.
Did you make a wish? Yeah. What'd you wish for? I wished for big movies.
WTF Nation Radio.